Hi everyone. So what do you mean by pathogens? Diseases which spreads from an infected person to a healthy person. There it was Salmonella typhi. For typhoid it is, the very word itself will tell you, typhi, Salmonella typhi, falciparum as I said, which is more serious and can be fatal. So what are the very important symptoms of malarial infection? So this is the life cycle of Plasmodium, which is a very important concept from examination point of view. Welcome back to session 2 of this very important chapter 8 called Human Health and Diseases. As I said, this is a very important chapter at this point of situation where we all of us are facing this coronavirus pandemic. So how are we to maintain a good health amidst this coronavirus pandemic, right? So what did we discuss in session 1 of this chapter called Human Health and Diseases? We learned about the definition of health. What health literally means. Is it just absence of diseases or is it just physical fitness? No, it is nothing but what? It is a it is a state of complete mental, social well-being, right? And we also studied about the what will happen if a person is healthy. How are we going to maintain our health, good health? And as I said, a healthy person is definitely going to be more efficient in work, and efficiency produces what? Efficiency will lead to what? Productivity, and productivity will lead to what? Economic prosperity. And also we discussed about what are the measures that need to be taken to maintain a good health. And we also studied about the definition of a disease. What disease means, right? It is nothing but abnormal functioning of the organs, where the disease will come out with certain signs and symptoms. Then only we'll be able to know that definitely we are infected with a pathogen or a disease causing organism. Now in today's session 2, what are we going to discuss about? In today's session we are going to discuss about the disease causing organisms, that is pathogen. That is, as I said, what are the factors for the health to be affected? It might be a genetic disorder, or it might be through infections or through lifestyle. Even lifestyle also is equally responsible for not maintaining a good health. So it might be due to genetic disorder, or it might be due to infection. Infections through what? Through pathogens. So what do you mean by pathogens? Pathogens are nothing but disease causing organisms. What are pathogens? Pathogens are disease causing organisms. So right now we know we are all facing this coronavirus. The very word itself will tell you what the COVID-19 is caused by what? Coronavirus. So it is a viral disease. So what is pathogen? Pathogens are nothing but what? Disease causing organisms is called as pathogens. What are the pathogens which cause diseases usually? It might be a bacteria, or it might be a virus as we are facing right now. It might be a fungi, it might be a protozoan, or it might be a helminth. As you know, when we use the word called pathogen, most of the pathogens are parasitic in nature. So definitely they are going to need a host body to carry on their life cycle. So most pathogens are what? Most pathogens are parasites, and pathogens live, as I said, live in the host. And pathogens can enter our body through various modes. It might be through food, or it might be through water, or it might be through air. So these are many modes are there for the entry of these pathogens into the human body. So what is pathogen? Pathogen is nothing but a disease causing organism. And then what are the organisms that usually cause diseases in human beings? It might be a bacteria, it might be a virus, it might be a fungi, it might be a protozoan, or it might be a helminth, etc., etc. As I said, most of the pathogens are parasitic in nature. Definitely they need what? Parasites are the organisms which reside inside the body of the host. And here the host body is usually the human body. And as I said, pathogens can enter into our body by various means, may it be through food we eat, or the water we drink, and through the air we breathe. Hope you can see in this picture, this girl is suffering from what? From common cold. And at this situation or at this point of time, I think we are very much afraid of even a common cold or even a cough, because all these are the symptoms of what? Coronavirus infection, right? Now, what are the common diseases in humans then? What are the common diseases we are going to come across? The common diseases that we come across is typhoid, pneumonia, common cold, malaria, amoebiasis, ascariasis, ringworm diseases and filariasis. Here we, as I said, all these are infectious diseases. What do you mean by infectious diseases? Infectious diseases, as I said in the last session, they are also called as what? Communicable diseases. What do you mean by communicable diseases? Diseases which spreads from an infected person to a healthy person through agents. What are the agents or the causative agents? Might be a virus, might be a bacteria, fungi, etc. are called as what? Infectious diseases. So infectious diseases are the diseases which spread from a infected person to a healthy person. And what is the other classification of disease? Non-infectious diseases, which is also called as what? Non-communicable diseases. What do you mean by non-communicable? The disease which is not going to spread from one person to another person. Like it might be a deficiency disease, or it might be a degenerative disease, it might be an allergy, or it might be a cancer. So that is not, all these are not going to spread from one person to another person. But here the names what we have mentioned here are all the diseases which are going to spread from one person to another person, and obviously these are nothing but infectious diseases. As I said, we classify the infectious diseases. We classify the infectious diseases into what? Bacterial diseases, viral diseases, fungal diseases, fourth protozoan diseases, and fifth helminth diseases. Right. So here you can see typhoid and pneumonia. Typhoid and pneumonia are the diseases where which is caused by bacteria. Common cold is caused by virus. Then malaria is caused by a protozoan. Malaria is caused by a protozoan, that is Plasmodium. Amoebiasis is caused by Entamoeba histolytica. Again, which is a Entamoeba histolytica, which is a protozoan. Then ascariasis is a disease which is caused by helminths, worm. Helminths means what? Worm. Then ringworm disease is caused by fungi. And filariasis is again a helminth disease. So as I said, we classify the infectious diseases. As I said, disease is classified into two types. What are they? Infectious diseases and non-infectious diseases. What do you mean by infectious diseases? Diseases which is going to spread from one person to another person. That is from an infected person to a healthy person. Not from a healthy person to a healthy person. From an infected person to a healthy person. And what are the causative agents? Causative agents might be a bacteria, might be a virus, might be a fungi, or it might be a helminth, or it might be a protozoan. So based on that, we classify the infectious diseases into bacterial diseases, viral diseases, fungal diseases, protozoan diseases, and helminth diseases. Hope you have understood what are the common diseases in humans which we are going to come across. Right. So as I said, what are the common diseases? Typhoid, pneumonia, common cold, malaria, amoebiasis, ascariasis, ringworm disease, and filariasis. We'll start with the first one, that is the bacterial disease. Bacterial diseases. So two very important examples for bacterial diseases. One is typhoid. The other one is called pneumonia. So these two are the examples for the bacterial diseases. Now let us study one by one about typhoid. Typhoid is also called as what? Enteric fever. And typhoid is one such bacterial disease which is caused by a bacteria called Salmonella typhi. So what is a causative agent for typhoid? Typhoid is a bacterial disease caused by what type of bacteria? Salmonella typhi bacteria, right? And as I said, it is a very serious type of disease where the small intestine is affected. and it also migrates to the other organs through blood also. So not only small intestine, it may also migrate, the infection may also migrate to the other organs through blood. So which is the main organ that is affected due to typhoid? It is a serious infection of what? Small intestine. And what are the symptoms? What are we going to come across? As I said, fever could be confirmed, and typhoid. Suppose if a person gets typhoid, what is the test what is the confirmatory test for typhoid? The confirmatory test for typhoid is called Widal test. It is a serological test, blood test. It is called as a serological test. I repeat, what is typhoid? Typhoid is one of the bacterial example for bacterial diseases. What is the other name for typhoid? It is also called as what? Enteric fever. And as I said, typhoid is caused by a bacteria called what? Salmonella typhi. And which is the organ which is affected by this bacteria? It is small intestine. It may also migrate to what? It may also migrate to the other parts through blood. And as I said, what is the confirmatory test for typhoid? And we usually call it as typhoid fever, right? So it is, the confirmatory test is called as Widal test. Now any disease will come out with certain signs and symptoms. Now let us see, as I said already, what is the mode of infection of this typhoid? How do we get this disease? The mode of this, as I said, enters the small intestine through contaminated food and water. Very, very important. So when the food is contaminated, right, or when the water is contaminated, so we get this typhoid disease through contaminated food and water. That is the reason why we should have clean food and clean water, clean and safe drinking water, because we may get many diseases. So what we say, that hygiene should be maintained. Even when the food what we eat should be hygienic, and even the water what we drink should be safe, right? So what is the mode of infection? The pathogens enter the small intestine through contaminated food and water. So what is the mode of infection? As I said, these disease causing agents may enter the human body through various means. Here what is the mean? Through what is the means of infection here? Through contaminated food and water. And as I said, any disease will come out with certain signs and symptoms. So what are the signs and symptoms? High fever, that is sustained high fever, and weakness. The person will be very weak, and there will be continuous high fever, sustained high fever, and weakness, and stomach pain, followed by what? Stomach pain, even constipation, even headache, loss of appetite, right? Then intestinal perforations also, as I said, this bacteria is going to infect what? Which organ? Mainly which organ? Small intestine. So as you know, intestine is a very, very important part of digestive system, human digestive system. So there might be some intestinal perforations. What do you mean by intestinal perforations? Holes in the intestine. Major portion of food what we eat is digested in the small intestine. So it is a very, very important part of the digestive system. So even the intestinal perforation, so it may cause what? Intestinal perforations, which may also lead to what? Death. So certain times even it may lead to death, right? Or fatality also may occur in severe cases. So what is it? Typhoid is called as what? Enteric fever. It is caused by a bacteria called Salmonella typhi, and as I said, it is going to infect what? Small intestine. And as I said, it may also migrate to other parts of the body through blood. And what is the confirmatory test for typhoid? They might ask in exam. These are the examples. Some of the examples what you are going to study is also included in your practical. So this part, particularly this session, is very, very important, both from theory part as well as from practical part. So you have to learn like what are the causative organisms, what are the symptoms, what is the mode of infection, all that has to be learnt, right? So as I said, the typhoid, the infection is to the small intestine, and it may spread to the other parts of the body to the major organs also through blood. And the confirmatory test is called as what? Widal test. It is also called as what? Serological test. And what is the mode of infection? Mode of infection is through contaminated food and water. So any disease, when you go to a doctor, first doctor asks for the symptoms. So based on the symptoms, the doctor will be able to diagnose. As I said, diagnosing the disease is very important. Then only proper treatment or medication can be given. If not, it is very difficult. Symptoms are one signs which will tell like we are not healthy because of the causative organism, may it be bacteria or may it be fungi, etc., etc. So first, symptoms are very, very important. So what are the symptoms that are shown when a person is infected with Salmonella typhi bacteria? High fever, that is sustained high fever, followed by weakness, stomach pain, constipation, loss of appetite, sometimes even intestinal perforations, and also death may occur. So this is all about the typhoid fever, which is a very good example for bacterial disease. Moving on to the next example, that is pneumonia. Pneumonia, as I said, typhoid is called enteric fever, whereas pneumonia is called what? Lung fever. The very word itself will tell you. There, enteric means what? It is affecting what? Small intestine. Here, pneumonia is infecting what? Lungs. Hence the name lung fever. And what is the bacteria that is going to cause pneumonia? There, the bacteria which causes typhoid was what? Salmonella typhi. Here, the bacteria is Streptococcus pneumoniae. There it was Salmonella typhi. For typhoid it is, the very word itself will tell you, typhi, Salmonella typhi. Here, Streptococcus pneumonia. The last word itself will tell what is the disease all about. And Haemophilus influenzae. One more bacteria called Haemophilus, and also through Haemophilus influenzae. And pneumonia, as I said, it is an acute infection of what? Alveoli of lungs, air sacs of lungs. Air sacs of lungs are affected. Air sacs of lungs are affected. Here you can see the beautiful picture here. You can see the lungs here. You can see the normal air sacs. So exchange of gases takes place through this alveoli. So exchange, here you can see the infected alveoli where it is inflated and also fluid filled air sacs. This is fluid filled air sacs. Fluid filled air sacs. So here you can see, obviously when the air sacs are not functioning properly, exchange of gases will not take place, and definitely it is going to affect what? The respiration, right? So what is pneumonia? Pneumonia is otherwise called as what? Lung fever. What is the causative organism for pneumonia? That is Streptococcus pneumoniae, and the other one is Haemophilus influenzae. And this pneumonia bacteria is going to infect what? It is going to infect alveoli of lungs, that is the air sacs. So what will happen? The air sacs will get filled with fluid. Here you can see the air, this is a normal alveoli. Here you can see the infected alveoli. That is, alveoli are filled with what? Fluid, liquid like substance. Liquid like substance, so which is going to block the exchange of gases. So if exchange of gases, that is carbon dioxide and oxygen, so oxygen enters the cell and carbon dioxide goes out of the cell. So exchange of gases has to take place here, right? So we also use the word called respiration, that is inspiration and expiration. Taking in of oxygen is called inspiration, and expulsion of the gaseous waste called carbon dioxide is called expiration. So here, and causes what? Severe problems in respiration. So definitely I think at this point of time, if at all we are not able to breathe properly, or if we have breathlessness, again it is an indication of what? Coronavirus infection, right? But we have to analyze the symptoms properly. Just we can't tell it is because every time it is because of coronavirus. So the symptoms need to be analyzed properly, then to come to a conclusion that which is the causative organism for the disease. So here the causative organism is what? Streptococcus pneumoniae and Haemophilus influenzae, and it is going to affect what? Alveoli of lungs. So what will happen if it affects the alveoli of lungs? The alveoli or the air sacs gets filled with what? Fluid, and causes what? Severe problem in respiration. Now what is the mode of infection? Obviously it is through inhaling the pathogens containing droplets or aerosols released by an infected person. So when we sneeze, when we cough, so some droplets are thrown out, are released out, and if that infected droplets are consumed by a healthy person, then the healthy person will get this pneumonia disease also. So what is the mode of infection? There it was, the typhoid was through contaminated water and food. Here it is not like that. By inhaling the pathogens containing the droplets and aerosols released by the infected person, right? Even by sharing glasses, utensils, like water glass if we share, then utensils with an infected person. So one is either through droplets or aerosols released by an infected person. Secondly, by sharing glasses or utensils with an infected person. So this is the mode of infection. For typhoid, the mode of infection was through contaminated food and water. So hope you have understood what is pneumonia. Pneumonia is another example for a bacterial disease. So what is the name of the causative organism? Bacteria, that is Streptococcus pneumoniae, and another one is Haemophilus influenzae. And this bacteria is going to infect what? It is going to infect the alveoli of lungs, the air sacs of lungs. So obviously the alveoli or the air sacs will be filled with fluid, which is definitely going to disturb the process of exchange of gases, leading to a severe problems in what we call it as respiration. So what is the mode of infection? By inhaling the pathogen containing either through droplets or aerosols released by the infected person, or by sharing glasses or utensils with an infected person. So this is the mode of infection. Symptoms. Just like typhoid also comes out with certain signs or symptoms, so also pneumonia also will show certain signs and symptoms. What are the signs and symptoms? Fever and chill. So fever will be there, followed with chills, then cough, headache, chest pain, increased rate of breathing, and in severe cases the lips and the fingernails may turn grey to bluish in color. Suppose if the disease is too very severe, as you all know that any disease, if it is diagnosed at the earliest stage, the better it can be treated. Suppose we are not able to diagnose the disease at the earliest, it may lead to an acute case or a severe cases. So in this case, that is when the pneumonia is not treated properly in the initial stage, then it may lead to what? So the lips and finger, what are the symptoms that are shown when the disease is in an advanced state? Here the lips and the fingernails may turn greyish to blue in color. So what are the normal symptoms or signs of pneumonia fever? That is as I said, pneumonia is accompanied by what? Fever, chills, cough, headache, chest pain, increased rate of breathing, and in severe cases the lips and the fingernails may also turn grey to bluish in color. Here this beautiful diagram shows this is the normal lungs, and here you can see the normal air sacs of the lungs, and here you can see the infected lung where the alveoli or the air sacs are filled with fluid. So which is going to disturb what? The exchange of gases, and definitely it may lead to some respiratory problems. It may lead to respiratory problems. Hope you have understood what is pneumonia, right? Moving on to the common cold, very, very important at this point of time or in the present scenario. Even if we sneeze or if we have cold, we are afraid of, because we feel that, oh, maybe we are also infected with the coronavirus. But not all times. But as you all know, at this point of time, common cold is one very common symptom for the infection of coronavirus. But what is common cold? It is a viral disease. It is a viral disease, right? So common cold is a viral disease. So what is the name of the virus which causes common? And this is a very, very common, you don't call it as a disease, you can call it as some discomfort, we can say. In a normal daily life we come across this discomfort called common cold, but we categorize into a infectious disease. So it is caused by a rhinovirus. Just like COVID-19 is caused by coronavirus, so even this common cold is caused by rhinovirus, and it is the most common infection in humans. Very, very, very common. You can call it as a discomfort in humans. So it is not like a very we don't take it very seriously. But at this point of time, as I said, definitely we are going to be very serious when we have even a small common cold. And it infects what? It infects nose and the respiratory passage. Very, very important. Common cold infects what? Nose. So usually common cold is accompanied by what? Running nose. And we have a sore throat also, and where we have some symptoms of even cough also, right? So the common cold is caused by rhinovirus, and it is the most common infection of what? Of the nose and the respiratory passage. Mode of infection, whereas pneumonia was affecting the alveoli of lungs. but here it is infecting. You should not confuse pneumonia with common cold also, right? There it is going to infect the lungs and particularly the alveoli of the lungs. Here the lungs are not infected, only the nose and the respiratory passage is infected. That is, the trachea might be infected, but not the lungs. So mode of infection, obviously all of us know. If your friend or if anybody in the house is having a common cold, definitely the next day the other one will be having the common cold. But this is one such disease which is commonly spreading from a person to person. I think we can give a very good example for infectious disease is common cold. Very commonly it is going to spread from a person to person. So what is the mode of infection? We take this common cold very lightly, right? So by inhaling droplets from cough or sneeze of infected person. Suppose you sit next to a friend who is having common cold. She or he might be sneezing, right? Maybe coughing, and the droplets and the aerosols that are released through the cough or the sneeze may also cause the infection to a healthy person. It can also be transmitted through the mucus contaminated objects. Like for example, you use the pen, you share the pen. A person is infected with common cold, so you share the pen, pencil, rubber, and even the books when you share, cups, and very important, keyboard. Suppose you're a person who is infected with common cold is using a computer, and the keyboard also which he or she uses may also be a reason for getting the infection. So what is the mode of infection? By inhaling droplets from cough or sneeze of infected person. It can also be transmitted through what? Through mucus contaminated objects like pen, books, cups, keyboards, etc. Right? Hope you have understood what is common cold. Common cold is a classical example for what? For a viral disease. What is the name of the virus that causes common cold? It is rhinovirus. And what is it going to infect? It is going to infect the nose and the respiratory passage. What is the mode of infection? Inhaling droplets from cough or sneeze of the infected person. It can also be transmitted through what? Mucus contaminated objects like pen, books, cups, which we share with an infected person, not with an healthy person. We should not mistake that. If we share all this with an healthy person, we'll get common. Only with an infected person, then the chances of getting infected for a healthy person also is quite possible. What are the symptoms? Just like how pneumonia and typhoid also come out with certain symptoms or signs. So what is a common symptom of common cold? Obviously, I think all of us, we feel that nasal discomfort, nasal congestion is there, blocking of nose, and with the mucus, right, and discharge. So obviously we'll have running nose, right? Then sore throat, we'll have some pain in the throat, sore throat. Sore throat is the first indication of common cold, right? Cough, as I said, it is followed by cough and hoarseness. You can see the change in the voice. When whoever is having common cold can immediately be identified with the hoarseness of the voice, right? And some rough voice, you will not have a normal voice. Then followed by headache, very common symptom. Headache is a very common symptom of common cold. Then tiredness. So see, obviously any disease will not make us comfortable, and definitely we feel some difference in our body and will not be able to carry on the daily activities like how we do in a normal time. So we have this tiredness, etc., which usually lasts for how many days? Cold is such it's a very small disease, we can say, but it lasts for 3 to 7 days. So immediately it will not reside. So it takes some time for the common cold to reduce. So this is all about common cold. Hope you have understood what is common cold. Here you can see. And as you know, in the present scenario, due to this coronavirus pandemic, wearing mask is very important. So by wearing mask, we can avoid what? The aerosols or the droplets that are released by the infected person. So the only safest method to keep ourselves safe from this coronavirus is wearing a mask and what? Maintaining social distancing, right? So as I said, what is common cold? Common cold is caused by what? Rhinovirus, and the most common infection is what? Is in human, and it infects what? Nose and respiratory passage, and mode of infection is through what? Droplets, cough, sneeze of infected person, and it can also be transmitted through what? Mucus contaminated objects. So even handkerchiefs, when we use, here you can see this person is sneezing with a handkerchief, and when we use the same handkerchief, if a healthy person uses the same handkerchief, then definitely even the healthy person will be infected with common cold, right? Objects like pen, books, cups, keyboards, etc. What are the symptoms? Nasal congestion, blocking of nose with the mucus, as I said, discharge, mucus discharge, sore throat, then followed by cough, then hoarseness, there's a change in the voice, then headache, tiredness, etc., etc., which is going to last for how many days? 3 to 7 days. So this is all about common cold. Moving on to the next very important disease called malaria. Malaria, I think this is a very common disease which we come across. We also come across different types of fever like dengue fever, chikungunya, etc., etc. But this is something like different. Malaria, it's also a very serious disease, we can say, if it is not taken care at the earliest. So malaria is a protozoan disease. What do you mean by protozoan disease? Malaria is caused by a protozoan. There, common cold was caused by a virus. Typhoid and pneumonia was caused by bacteria. As I said, we classify the infectious diseases into bacterial diseases, viral diseases, fungal diseases, protozoan diseases, helminth diseases. Helminth means what? Diseases which are caused through worms like Wuchereria bancrofti, that is the filarial worm, right? So here malaria is caused by a protozoan disease. All of us know mosquito. We should take care to see our surroundings are kept clean. Never allow the stagnant water to remain for a longer time. As we know, the stagnant water is the best breeding place for the mosquitoes. So we can find good number of larvae in the stagnant water if the water is not frequently changed. Even the may it be drinking water or maybe the water which is in the sump. So even the overhead tank water needs to be cleaned now and then frequently to avoid what? Getting infected with malaria. So malaria is also one serious disease which is caused by a protozoan. What is the name of the protozoan which causes? It is called Plasmodium vivax. There are different species of malarial parasite, that is Plasmodium. One is Plasmodium vivax, the other one is Plasmodium malaria, Plasmodium falciparum, Plasmodium ovale. But the malignant malaria which causes, what you call it as brain malignant malaria, which is caused by Plasmodium falciparum, which is more serious. Which is the most serious and fatal. Fatal means what? Death is certain. Malaria can be cured, right? But as I said, sometimes it may also prove fatal if it is not treated properly at the earliest. So what is malaria? Malaria is a protozoan disease. Now what is the causative organism? It is a protozoan. Name the protozoan, that is Plasmodium vivax. Plasmodium vivax also causes what? Malaria. And there are many species of malaria like Plasmodium falciparum, Plasmodium ovale, but malignant malaria is caused by Plasmodium falciparum, as I said, which is more serious and can be fatal. And usually we get malaria through the bite of mosquito, female Anopheles mosquito. Female Anopheles mosquito. So use of mosquito nets. And nowadays we come out with so many things to avoid this getting bitten by the mosquito, like we have this what you call the mosquito coils, etc., mosquito that is liquid, etc., etc., which may also have some side effect. But as I said, we need to use all those to prevent ourselves from getting infected with this malaria, right? Malarial parasite. And the mode of infection is through the bite of the female Anopheles mosquito. Hope you have understood this. So what is malaria? Malaria is caused by a protozoan. Who is the agent which causes malaria? It is the mosquito. Female Anopheles mosquito. This is the agent, vector. But which is the causative organism? Causative organism is Plasmodium vivax. There are other species, as I said, Plasmodium vivax, Plasmodium malaria, Plasmodium falciparum, Plasmodium ovale. But the malignant malaria is caused by Plasmodium falciparum, as I said, which is more serious and can be fatal, right? Now, what is the mode of infection? Bite of infected female Anopheles mosquito. When we are bit by a female Anopheles mosquito, definitely we may get this malaria disease, right? So what is the mode of infection here? Bite from an infected female Anopheles mosquito. Then what are the symptoms? As I said, even malaria is to come out, malaria can be diagnosed through certain symptoms. So what are the symptoms of malaria than high fever and chill. There is a reason which I am going to explain in the coming slide. What are the reasons for high fever and chill? Always malaria will occur through what? The symptoms is through that is high fever and chills, right? Then headache, nausea, that is we feel like vomiting, sweating, muscular pain, joint pain, weakness, enlargement of liver and spleen. All these are the common symptoms of being infected with malaria. So what are the very important symptoms of malarial infection? High fever followed by chills, then headache, then nausea, then sweating, muscular pain, joint pain, weakness, enlargement of liver and spleen. Hope you have understood. Now let us study about the life cycle of the malarial parasite, that is about the Plasmodium. So this is the life cycle of Plasmodium, which is a very, very important concept from examination point of view. Usually they ask in the exam for 5 marks or for 3 marks, right? So as I said, the causative organism for malaria is Plasmodium vivax and Plasmodium falciparum also. Now, the stages in the cycle of Plasmodium parasite. How does this malaria infection take place? So, let us study stage by stage or point by point. So, what is the first point? Plasmodium. First entry of the Plasmodium, that is, enters the human body through a sporozoite. So, sporozoite is called as the infection stage. Infection stage. How is this infection stage going to enter the human body? It is going to enter through the bite of an infected female Anopheles mosquito, right? So this infected sporozoite will enter the body of a normal person through this sporozoite. So we call this sporozoites as what? Infection stage. Now this sporozoite now has entered the human body. Here you can see transmission of that is inject sporozoites via bite, and these sporozoites first enter what? Liver, and they are going to affect what? Hepatocytes and the RBC cells. As I said, mitotic replication, multiplication will take place in the liver cells, and they start multiplying, and what it will affect? What? It will affect the liver cells and the RBC cells. So here the liver's blood cells are ruptured, and what are released? Merozoites are released, and this merozoite, that is, will undergo what? Sexual cycle, and merozoites produce what? Gametocytes. And this gametocyte will enter the human body through the bite of the mosquito. That is, transmission of the mosquito ingests gametocytes via this bite. And as I said, these gametocytes will undergo meiosis, right, in the mosquito, then migrate into the midgut wall of the mosquito here, and again the sporozoites are produced. And again this sporozoite, as I said, will get transmitted to the human body, normal human person, through the bite of a female, infected female Anopheles mosquito. So this is the life cycle. It's a very, very important cycle to be learned, which is also asked in the exam. So what is the first mode of infection? As I said, the Plasmodium enter the human body by what? Body as what? As sporozoite, and through the bite of infected female Anopheles mosquito. Then the parasite, as I said, reproduces asexually within the liver cells. Will start multiplying here and then attack what? Red blood cells. Hope you remember when I discussed about the symptom, high fever and followed with chills, right? Recurring what? 3 to 4 hours. Recurring every 3 to 4 hours. High fever followed by chills, recurring every 3 to 4 hours. Every 3 to 4 hours. How is this symptom shown? Malarial infection shows certain symptoms, and this is a very, very common symptom. And how is this symptom shown? It is because of the rupturing of the red blood cells. So as I said, when the parasite reproduce asexually within the liver cells and then attack the red blood cells, then the red blood cells parasites multiply asexually, and this results in what? Rupturing of red blood cells. So when the RBC cells are ruptured, there is a release of a chemical substance called hemozoin. a very important point to be noted, which is asked in exam. Name the causative toxin that causes high fever and chill in malaria. What is that toxin? It is nothing but a toxin means what? Poisonous substance that is released by the bursting of red blood cells called hemozoin, which is responsible for the chill and high fever. This is a very, very important point. Hemozoin is a toxin which is released by the bursted red blood cells. So when the RBC cells burst, a substance called a toxin is released called hemozoin, which is a causative, which is a cause for the chill and high fever in malaria. Right. I'm going to explain the remaining part of this life cycle in the next slide also. Hope you have understood. So what is this? The stages in the life cycle of Plasmodium parasite. So Plasmodium enters the human body as what? Sporozoite. Through the bite of an infected female Anopheles mosquito. Here you can see. Right. Sporozoite, as I said, it is the infective stage. Right. Then through what? Through bite of an infected female Anopheles mosquito. So this parasite, when it enters the human body, will multiply asexually in the liver cells, will multiply more and then attack what? Red blood cells. First it attacks liver cells, that is hepatocytes, and then the red blood cells. And in the red blood cells, the parasites multiply asexually. This results in what? Bursting of red blood cells. So they start multiplying and obviously the red blood cell will burst. So the bursting of red blood cells will be associated with the release of a toxin called what? Hemozoin. A very, very important point to be noted, as I said, and it is this hemozoin which is responsible for the chill and the high fever. Hope you have understood the life cycle of this malarial parasite called Plasmodium vivax. So as I said, the next step is what? When the female Anopheles mosquito bites an infected person, the parasite enters the mosquito in the form of gametocytes. First, as I said, it will enter in the form of gametocytes. Here you can see enter in the form of what? Gametocytes, and undergo further development. Next what? The parasites multiply sexually within the mosquito. Further development takes place in the mosquito's digestive system. As I said, the further multiplication takes place here. First this one will affect this one, then they form this, and this is how the gametomerozoites are formed, and this is how they enter the midgut, that is the digestive system, to form what? Again sporozoites, which migrate through the salivary glands of the mosquito and are ready for infection. So now this mosquito will be waiting for a human blood, right? So when it bites a normal healthy person, then again it what? When it bites a healthy person, the sporozoites are introduced into that person's body. That is why, as I said, it is very, very we should be very careful. We should avoid being bitten by the mosquitoes. So as I said, malaria also may prove fatal if it is not treated at the earliest. Hope you have understood the life cycle of malaria. So what is the next point? When the female Anopheles mosquito bites an infected person, the parasites enter the mosquito in the form of gametocytes and undergo what? Further development. The parasites multiply sexually within the mosquito. Further development, where it takes place? It takes place in the digestive system. Again, what is formed? Sporozoites. How do they enter? They enter through the salivary glands of the mosquito and again ready for infection. That is, when they bite a healthy person, the sporozoites are introduced. So same, the life cycle will start like this. So this is all about the malaria and about its life cycle. Hope you have understood all the concepts what I have explained in today's session. We studied about the common diseases in human, that is, we studied about the bacterial diseases like typhoid and pneumonia. We studied about a common cold, which is a viral disease, right? Then we studied about malaria, which is a protozoan disease. And we also studied about the life cycle of the malarial parasite. What are we going to study in the coming session then? As I said, this chapter is very important as it deals with human health and diseases. So we are in the coming session, we are going to study about the structure of the antibody. As you know, the immunity in our body is due to the antibodies that are produced in the body, right? So at this point of time where we are facing this coronavirus pandemic, we need to boost our immunity with the immunity boosters. So then only we will be able to fight against this deadly virus called coronavirus, right? So we'll be studying about the structure of antibody, which is very much responsible for our immune system. Then about vaccination and immunization. So how are we going to prevent? All of us know that all of us are waiting for the vaccine for coronavirus, right? So that we can be more safer, right? So at this point of time, I think finding a proper vaccine for coronavirus is very, very important to prevent the deaths. As we know, more deaths are happening nowadays, and it is because that most of the people are prone to the coronavirus. There is no proper medication to treat the coronavirus patients. So vaccination and immunization, so it's very important. Then we'll be studying about autoimmunity. So all these are the concepts which we are going to study in the coming session. Hope you have understood all the concepts what I have explained in today's session regarding this very important chapter called Human Health and Diseases. So in the coming session, I'll be dealing with the remaining concepts what I have told you all. Until then, goodbye and thank you.